discretion is advised as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Now, are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
And we're back, and this time I brought a fellow podcaster, Brent of the Home Video Hustle. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing today?
I cannot complain. Never can complain. I got it easy.
It's always good, man.
Just do security and then record podcasts all day.
That's all I pretty much do. I go to work at night and I sleep during the day and occasionally record and edit podcasts. That's my day every day.
There you go. Hibernation of some sort.
Something, a little something.
Today we decided to take on the never-ending and rather addicting Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell video game sagas, as well as who should do a movie version of either one. I'm looking forward to that portion. So when you're ready, let's get ready to rumble. Metal Gear Solid. It originates back to the late 80s. It was very heavily inspired by the creator's favorite movie, Escape from New York. And you totally see the Snake Plissken similarities.
You see it in the name.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, Solid Snake. And so, Brent, have you always been like playing it since it first premiered, or were you kind of?
No, I got into it way late. I didn't.
When it was on the consoles, that's kind of when I became aware of it. I didn't know it was that far back as a PC game.
Yeah, it was on like the MSX, I think, back in Japan. But I think here, yeah, the first time I got into Metal Gear was on the GameCube when they remade the first game.
That's
they
right.
As the Twin Snakes.
And I was so confused because it looked like it was like a Nintendo property, but yet it was, for the most part, pretty exclusive to PlayStation 2 for the most part, as well as PS1. And then a lot of people seem to like these because, much like Splinter Cell and all these other, even Siphon Filter and Hitman, they were very much like Leon the Professional and Die Hard. You have these very, angled building to building action, stealth by stealth. One move and it was all over. You had to do it all over again. And that was part of the stakes raised that everybody loved. And I think I did play as Solid Snake in whatever Super Mario Brothers.
Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers, yes. They added him as a skin, and it was fucking great. I played as him nonstop when I wasn't playing as Star Fox, shooting the hell out of everyone. And I mean, just the intro, you gotta love how he just comes out from under the box. And I mean, it just adds a campy kind of appeal to it. What would your take on that?
Well, that was one of the things I always liked about Metal Gear is that it has like plot lines that take itself super serious, but at the same time doing a lot of goofy shit. Whereas like you got Splinter Cell that tries to be grounded in reality and like with Tom Clancy logos and all that, but then you got Metal Gear Solid where people are hiding under boxes and there's like you can make Solid Snake like jerk off to porno pictures in the locker if you know how to do it right. All kind of weird stuff like that.
Oh god, I do remember. Now I know what the sexual content part of the rating was for. I'm like, what? Oh, sexual content? What?
Oh yeah, Metal Gear has a lot of it hidden.
I could see some of the sexy assassins. I didn't know what exact sexual content they referred to, so now I know. But yeah, it's like Splinter Cell was always kind of trying to be pretentious, yet kind of ran with it because of its disjointed Clancy logic. And I'm like, yeah, there's no fucking way you're standing right next to someone with the green logo and they don't fucking see you.
That was always the one thing that bothered me as a kid, because I'm like, because when you turn the camera around to the front, you see the green lights and everything, but nobody else can see that shit. But I guess that's that suspension of disbelief you gotta go with or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Terminator. He sees all red, even though his laser eyes are pointed out, so technically he doesn't see shit. And they also do the whole, whistle.
Which is like even with the RoboCop movies, I always laugh because your boy makes that big thud noise every time he walks, but he sneaks up on people somehow.
Yeah, it's like what? I mean, it's part of the satire, but it's also kind of big ass plot hole. I mean, it's good that you bring up RoboCop because you definitely see an influence on a lot of these
Oh yeah.
especially Japanese games. How the armor, the bad guys. I always got kind of a Mad Dog or what's his name in uh, Time Crisis, which should totally be a movie. I always got a mix of Hans Gruber, some other disjointed anime Gundam character, as well as like the Boddicker and RoboCop is like, just about to blow your brains out.
I'm glad you said that. I thought I was the only person that even remembered Time Crisis. Nobody ever talks
Ah,
about that game. Every time I go to an arcade, they got Time Crisis. I'm playing that shit. Like
I
no joke.
always meant to get the home console version, but I pretty much
It's
always
not
ended
as
up.
fun.
Yeah, it's not that good. Okay, well,
I had it on PS2. Me and my brother would play this. It's still fun, but it's not like having a little pedal that you step down on and everything.
the duck and cover routine. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
hitting that button on the side of the gun, the duck is not the same.
Man.
There was a time, it was a spot here called Gameworks years ago at this big mall we had, and they had Time Crisis. I think it was three, and I had a card, and that was pretty much almost the only game I had. I forget, I had a bunch of money on there because it was a party, and I sat and beat that entire game in one big run, and it got to the point where I guess I was jumping around and going all crazy, playing it like ducking and shooting like I was really shooting everybody. And I happened to look
Really?
around, and I see a whole crowd had gathered around and was watching me play that fucking game and start cheering me on.
Man, so the line begins to blur.
And
Falling down too.
I
This
wasn't even
time
paying attention.
it's
I didn't even know they were there. I was like, oh, cause I didn't know until somebody, like did the, yeah, or something. I was like, oh shit, there's a crowd behind me.
man. So Metal Gear Solid, it was always confusing keeping up with it because they would
Hmm.
do at least, like 2.0 or 3.0, something like that. Whereas like there's like three different titles with the numbers 2 and 3 in, and I'm like, man, I already can't keep up, let alone can't sneak these into the house to play. So,
Hmm.
damn.
Metal Gear Solid 2, then there's Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, then there's Metal Gear Solid 3, then there's
That's
Metal
what it
Gear
was.
Solid 3 Subsistence, and yeah.
And yet everyone seems to just generally like Snake. Lately, there's kind of been some people kind of gave it up once David Hayter, also known as a screenwriter and actor in Hollywood, was no longer playing the character. I don't know if he asked for too much.
Nah, it was they got Kiefer Sutherland to do it because they had him instead of just doing the voice, they had him with the mocap suit on and everything. I
Yeah,
guess they wanted to go for some celebrities, some shit like that.
right. Same time as he was bringing back his Jack Bauer from 24 character, and I mean, I have to say from what I saw, especially the making of it, I mean, he'd already done other video games. Like he was in one of the least popular Call of Duty World at War, the World War II one with him and Gary Oldman shouting various remarks.
I never
Uh,
played that.
I didn't mind it, but I can see why everyone didn't like it because there was some frustrating parts of it. But I mean, what do I know? We got to do one segment all on Call of Duty.
I played like three of those games, I think.
All good. I did a lot of the Modern Warfare. I also did one of the Black Ops ones. I mean, for me, it is just a silly, oversaturated blockbuster, and you're just doing it along with some other campy voiceovers
Hmm.
by other well-known cartoon celebs, and surprisingly, other B movie guys that you didn't even know still did mainstream stuff. That's awesome. I'll get into it more, but yeah, Snake always looked like to me like a mix between Casper Van Dien, Johnny Rico and Starship Troopers, and
Hmm.
some other person I couldn't place it on. They definitely make him have the Kurt Russell from Escape from New
Oh
York.
yeah.
That is definitely solid. Uh,
Yeah.
see, too much credibility. I totally did that without realizing it. Clueless moron I am. If you were to cast a Metal Gear Solid movie, what would it look like?
Oof.
Years ago, U-Ball. Yes, fuck you, U-Ball.
Oh, definitely Uwe
Try.
Ball. Yeah, get him.
Oh, you want to see what he can do? Yeah, he
Just
tried to
how bad
attack.
he can butcher it.
Yeah. Oh man, how much do you hate life?
I,
He
I
tried to get it, and basically the creator said he will never ever get the rights. I'm onto him.
oh
He
yeah,
just
I
flat
know
out.
Kojima's like hell no.
He actually researches what hacks in Hollywood are gonna ruin his property. And it's like, okay, cool.
he want to end
Because
up like Far Cry or House of the Dead or
oh,
Postal
Far
or Blood
Cry.
Rain.
I'm glad Far Cry still survived. Alone in the Dark, I've never played, but I would always. I take that back. Actually, I played the arcade version once in a while of House of the Dead. That was
Oh yeah.
fun. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that was by the same people I think who did Alone in the Dark, so that makes sense why he got the properties of both. And man, God.
I think of House of the Dead is Sega, and I'm pretty sure the other Alone in the Dark was like Infogrames or.
Oh, okay. Well, I could have sworn they had some of the same art direction and voiceover, but what do I know?
Oh, they all bite each other's style.
Yeah. Well, what is a ripoff nowadays? Everyone's taken from each other.
There you go. Yeah.
But I mean, I just always guffawed because the guy in Alone in the Dark totally looked like a Hollywood bad guy, Olivia Martinez. And for the longest time, everyone's like, "Is he actually doing the voice?" I'm like, "No, it's just similarly styled." After,
You talking about the Xbox 360 game?
I think so. I
Okay,
think it was a
yeah.
little bit before that, but yeah, it was around the time, definitely that post 08, they were getting
Yeah.
it. And
On 360, they tried to reboot it, and I think they came out. There was one called like Alone in the Dark Illumination that came out that super bomb. Nobody liked it.
oh, that's sad. Because I mean, who doesn't want to blast away zombies? And I
Or
mean,
something.
Dino Crisis was kind of giving Jurassic Park a run for its money.
That
Dinos in space. It's like a
that might
Jurassic
be
World.
coming back.
Oh well,
There's a rumor.
I hope they bring it back. I mean, as well as because I mean, Jurassic Park was kind of tied with Star Trek for the worst, movie adapted games for the longest time. I just want to fight dinos, and you're having me build a park. Isn't the park already built?
Oh, yeah.
What in God's name is going on here? And,
Roller Coaster Tycoon with Jurassic Park.
yeah, don't get eaten on the ride. There's not anything like this in the books or movie. Just is gasping at straws here.
Have you
So,
seen the Alone in the Dark movie?
uh, yes,
Okay. Have you seen the sequel?
yes.
Oh, really? No. Usually nobody knows there's a sequel to it.
The sequel is better, but not by much. It's not directed by Ball, but he is a producer on it, and it does have my favorite Rick Yoon from Die Another Day, Fast and Furious
Mm.
1, and Fifth Commandment in the lead role. Boy, does he suffer. He came up with like the story and was also a co-producer. And
Damn.
it doesn't make a sense. You have all these visions, and he's like melting people who are sparkling and everything. It has other people, Danny Trejo, Ralph Moeller from Gladiator, also in it. And it's like, what in God's name's going on?
You selling me on it though.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, watch it online. Do not shell out anything for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Uh,
I seen the first one on I was on Brendan and Nathan's What Were They Thinking podcast. The first episode I did with them was on Alone in the Dark, so now I might have to make them watch the sequel now.
oh no.
It's gonna be all thanks to you, man.
Jesus. They're gonna hate me for life. Oh. All I can say is it's slightly better. I mean, I didn't think Alone was Ball's worst, but I mean, we could go back and forth as to what is his worst, because I mean, shit is still shit. I mean, you got his Falling Down ripoff, which is Sanctimony with a very disgruntled Casper Van Dien. You got and Far Cry, that could have been a good movie, but it's just he's just Yule's just incompetent in every angle. You have all this bizarre music that doesn't fit at all. It's so bad you can't even riff it, Mystery Science Theater style. And to make it even worse, he does the whole just awkward angles, and it's like he's intentionally doing it on purpose just because he's got that big an ego and tax cuts in Germany. And I'm just like, and when I see him just talking smack about Spielberg, even Michael Bay, and,
Mm-hmm.
I forget who else he dissed. Is like Tarantino he dissed. And Tarantino's like, yeah, basically Spielberg didn't respond. I doubt he even heard it. And Michael Bay was like, "Hey, that's hurtful. Don't call people retards." And it's funny. This guy who does all these over the top movies is actually kind of still real life. And then Tarantino was like, "I'll fucking kick his ass. What the fuck?"
Yeah, I can hear you saying it.
It's like, holy shit, everybody's got a different response. Spielberg didn't even waste time with you, and these two utter guys who do popular, sometimes infamous movies are just like, let's go.
All right, so I got a question for you then. What's his best movie in your opinion?
Uh, my eyelids not watching his movies. His worst one. Uh, Definitely House of the Dead. I'm sorry. I know some people find it funny. I just the awful rap music that you can't even from Germany and cast embarrassing themselves. House of the Dead 2 is pretty good. He had no association with that, and it totally disregards it in a way. But yeah, House of the Dead 1 is just like it can't. It's very inconsistent. It's not even fun in kind of a trashy Italian exploitation way, and just even the sleaze is just like, really, dude. You
Have
ever
you
had
ever
a
seen there's a version of it called the funny version. Have you ever seen that one?
I think I did vaguely hear about that. It's like it's a DVD special feature. You can fuck around with it. I think that might be why
I
it's
think it was its own release, like its own DVD.
really.
Yeah, where it's just him doing like commentary over it and like adding in like poop sound effects and cartoon sound effects over certain parts of the
God,
movie.
holy
That's
shit.
all it is.
Well, that I definitely felt like my brain was filled with fecal matter after seeing it. So that he probably it definitely explains a lot of them. I don't think he takes himself seriously, and at the same time, he kind of wants to just call. I got annoyed when everyone was like, "Oh, he's such a smart guy," calling out overrated, saturated Hollywood productions. It's like anyone else could have told you that. He's not saying anything that is rocket science or that anyone doesn't already know.
Hmm.
It's, it seemed like everyone was fearful of talking about him because he was boxing people in the ring. but, but yeah, what's your worst encounter with him? I mean, Far Cry could have been good, but sleep with the will in that one.
I actually own that. I got it here on DVD.
Oh God.
I got I got that and Postal. Those are the two of his I got here.
Postal, I can see why some people legit like, but eh, I,
I'm gonna just go. I say it on our podcast all the time, and I harass Brendan with it all the time. But I love Postal. I watch it all the time.
yes, you do. You did bring that up one outrageous time. I think it was God. I think you were just reviewing a few recent blockbusters, and it was. I love. What do I know? I love Postal.
Yeah, I got it. I've had it on DVD and Blu-ray. I gave the DVD to my uncle though, cause it's a true story that's really happened. My uncle, I showed it to him and he fucking just died laughing at it. And he took it to the bar with him, and I guess he said everybody in the bar was all drunk laughing their ass off at it. So I told him he could just have
Oh
it.
God.
So
I'm worried. I'm worried for America. But hey, you like what you like. I mean, damn. Uh, so either way, as of now, he's not gonna be allowed to do Metal Gear Solid. Who's gonna play Snake?
what we could have had, man.
What we could have had. Jesus.
So you could have had Christian Slater playing Solid Snake or
You
or
know, I
who's the
could
one guy?
actually.
Oh shit, my bad. What'd you say?
Christian Slater wouldn't be a bad choice for real though.
No, especially not for the older version.
Hey, hey, I'm Solid Snake. Could add a bit of camp to it, especially since there are camp elements. Who would be one of the main recurring bad guys? I think it's Lone Wolf or some shit.
You got Sniper Wolf, you got Revolver
That's what it is.
Ocelot.
All right,
Uh,
so who would you cast as them? Because you're pretty good at taking these various action and horror icons, and you want Doug Bradley. I think you mentioned him in the previous
Doug
recording.
Bradley is fucking
There you
Revolver
go,
Ocelot.
fucking Pinhead from Hellraiser as Revolver.
So just spinning the gun all around and saying a bunch of. That's the only thing with Metal Gear Solid movies that they adapted into like for the screen. They keep all the motherfucking script the same. Like that's a lot for people to memorize.
It would, but if they just were able to bribe some studio executive and say, "Keep us the hell away. We promise we'll get your money back," it could happen. But they might
Mm.
even have to just make it in Japan, have Sony acquire it, and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, uh, Doug Bradley could even get in a chain fight with someone as a throwback to the hooks and Hellraiser. See if anyone catches it. Welcome to hell. Metal Gear Solid.
Let me see. Who else he Doug Brown? You know who I would you could get either him or Michael Keaton.
Ooh, you do always bring up Keaton. So yeah, have Keaton in there. He's like, "Are you nuts?"
Have him playing Beetlejuice with Revolver Ocelot or something.
Oh, there you go. Yes, he's got some crazy Beetlejuice type hair minus the makeup, and then he's like, "You think you're Batman or something, huh?"
Start referencing all the movies he's been in.
Yeah, it was like, well, you ain't RoboCop either. Oh,
Oh, I always forget about that RoboCop remake.
oh,
I do own it though.
I've seen it almost as much as the first one, so I'm the worst person in the world.
Oh shit. Well, I saw it at the theater, so I guess I ain't much better.
I also saw it opening day.
Oh, well,
Uh,
see, there you go.
I also watched the Prime Directive miniseries that no one remembers from Sci-Fi
On
Channel.
Sci-Fi? Oh, I remember.
Okay, that's good.
You ever see the Canadian series too? That was like one season long.
I haven't, but I think Shout Factory just released it. So
Really? Well, I guess I'm buying that.
you're right. It's like Hill Street Blues, but with RoboCop. Less saxophone.
I'll have to make PJ or somebody watch that.
I'm sure for some reason, because it was filmed in Dallas, there's like a big ass RoboCop convention every once in a while
Hmm.
that screens it. There was like a sold out event sponsored by Sci-Fi Channel that had Peter Weller at a Q&A about 4 years ago. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I would love to go.
Well, I think it was in Detroit. They were trying to make that gold RoboCop statue at one point too.
I think they did. I think
Oh,
they
did they actually
made
do
it.
that?
I think they made it, yeah, in the city where it's set. Like,
Oh shit.
holy shit, yeah. Uh, oh, and they were talking about doing a sequel to the remake. Now they're saying we're going to do a legit sequel to the original. And I saw some people still blowing it off. They're like, unless Verhoeven's back, I'm out. I'm like, well, it's from the original script. How hard can it be?
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think they're gonna pull the Halloween and be like, yeah, all those sequels they didn't have.
Oh, God. Yeah, probably.
I'm pretty sure that's what I read.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's pretty commonplace nowadays to do it. Which is funny because some people like H2O and Part 3. So,
And, I like both of those. So
yeah. Stop it! Stop it! Stop
it's a
it!
controversial opinion, and a lot of people I found actually agree with me, but then some people don't. But I think Part 3 is my favorite one.
A lot of people do seem to like Part 3. It's just for longest time because the whole, oh, Mike Myers isn't in it. It's like, it's almost as bad as just when a TV show changes the lead, everyone's like, it's not the same anymore. I'm like, it's the same. It's just you've been only tuning in because you like whatever actors on it. Is like,
Hmm. I heard y'all talking about that in one of your episodes. Y'all was comparing this to like 24, like how when they brought it back and they put a different guy in there and nobody wanted to watch it.
yeah, there was definitely a lot of people I had unfriend because they kind of showed a racist side of him, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? Trey's a good actor. Kiefer was never the star. He even said it himself, and they're just like Fox News. They're like, fake news, never happened. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, the star was the editing. I mean, you didn't cry a river when Curtis died. You didn't cry a river when Tony or Chloe left. I mean, they even fucking brought back Tony, and they still bitch. So I mean, I'm like,
Oh, yeah, people they're gonna bitch no matter what you do. If it's not
yeah,
exactly the same as before, they're gonna bitch about
I'm going to talk about the 10 best noir movies with Chaos, and
it.
everyone knows him as the director of Taken 2 and Ballistic X versus Sever, and
Hmm.
he very much is kind of one of the guys. He just shrugs. He just goes on to the next project and is like, "I'm going to do my best." I'm like, "Well, that's
That's
fine." I actually kind of like Ballistic, even though you kind of disown it. I kind of like. He even sent me the original version of Zero Tolerance, a movie he did with Scott Adkins, and
Oh, see, I hate when movies do that because when you said zero tolerance, I was thinking of the old Robert Patrick movie from back in the
we will
90s.
cover that. We are all big PM Entertainment fans. That is the best Punisher movie that never got noticed for
Uh,
VHS. Even went to it even got released to theaters in Japan.
Really?
Yes, look it up.
'Cause
IMDb.
I had to track that movie down because the same uncle I was telling you about that loves Postal, he loves that movie too. And I had to like it was about almost man, it had to be almost a decade ago, like at least 7 years ago. I tracked that fucking DVD down. It was hard to find. I finally found a real legit copy of it. So
It's a
he has one.
shame. It's a shame that PM shut down because even though they had contracts, their movies were playing on like Showtime and TNT. a lot of people would check them out. They never heard of them. They were basically independent movies that just so happened to get VHS and TV releases. But yeah, I mean, given how they were a pretty affordable company based in Las Vegas, they could have totally adapt. And how many TV stars they got in action roles like Jack Scalia. I mean, they
Mhm.
could have totally done a Metal Gear Solid adaptation back in the day if they wanted.
I'm honestly surprised it never has happened. I'm sure maybe Hideo Kojima put a stop to it or something, but I would have figured that would have happened a long time ago. 'Cause I remember reading Game Informer back in the day, and they were talking about, gearing up production for Metal Gear movies and Duke Nukem movies, but that never happened.
Yeah, they were teasing Paul Thomas Anderson, who I don't think would be a good choice, but
That'd be weird.
he, well, everyone would just flat out sound the same. Fuck. And yeah, he totally sounded like he was high as a kite when he was talking about it. He's like, if you gotta do a Metal Gear Solid movie, you gotta do it this way. It's like, pass. And now it seems like the next game that's facing an evil fate is gonna be oh, what's the one
Which one?
with Nolan North? The one that's
Oh,
Tomb Raider.
Uncharted.
Yeah, Uncharted is now going to probably be facing an evil death because it's been pushed back in production. They've already
It
fired.
lost its sixth director.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that so weird.
uh, for the longest time it was David O. Russell, Marky Mark, and I wasn't really crazy about that. And now it's like, this is just as a cursed movie. It's like I don't know who is pulling the buttons, who has the rights, but there's definitely a bunch of nutless monkeys, to quote
Yeah,
Tropic Thunder.
they might as well just give it up at this point, man. The game's already pretty much like movies any damn way.
That, and I mean, they got so many other celebs being the voiceovers. I mean, they're already doing a sequel to the Tomb Raider movie, which I kind of liked, but I can kind of see why people didn't like.
I have a copy, but I haven't watched it yet.
I thought it was a lot of fun, but there's a lot of other people who are like, I prefer Angelina Jolie. I'm like,
I
well,
just recently rewatched that movie, and I didn't care for that one.
no, it never did the cut the mustard for me. I thought she was awesome, and I didn't like any of the premise or Indiana Jones mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So they could pretty much get any kind of Japanese singer to be kind of the romantic lead or femme fatale in Metal Gear. We already discussed Christian Slater. We could get some other. You know what? What about No, actually, I'll save them for the other adaptation.
Oh.
So it would be an interesting combo. It might happen in the future, but it's still pretty uncertain at this point. So I'll move us on to Splinter Cell, the Tom Clancy supervised video game saga set in the same universe as uh, uh God, I can't speak today. I sound like one of my pals who used to always sound like he was having an orgasm and laughing, combusting at the same time. So
Oh shit.
yeah. How you doing? Yeah. So yeah, this is set in the same universe as Rainbow Six, which, long
Oh
story
yeah.
short, was part of the same Jack Ryan books and was taught by John Clark, who's also in some of the Jack Ryan movies and supposed to be in one of the upcoming seasons of the awesome show. Uh, Tom Clancy didn't really have much say in this, but you can totally see why they put his name on it, and he thought it was an easy buck because
Mm-hmm.
he was tired of Hollywood adapting some of his movies, and the games really do feel like a legit, a Die Hard type movie or show of the week, and you're playing
Mm-hmm.
through it.
So I was thinking about it, and I'm not sure if I played Splinter Cell first or Metal Gear first. I can't really remember, but I know for sure I've played the first one on the GameCube. I don't remember. Oh, you
Nice.
know what? I remember now. My cousin Andrew, he had on the Xbox, he had a demo disc that had the second level, I think, of Splinter Cell on there, and we played the hell out of that game. And I always loved spy fiction and all that because I grew up a
Yeah.
huge James Bond fan. So anything with spies in it, I was like, I'm with it. But when it came to the video games, they're always more like action games. There wasn't really a lot of like stealth going on. So when I first played Splinter Cell, you gotta like hide in the shadows and use night vision goggles, and if you raise an alarm, you pretty much fucked. You might as well reload your save or something. Like I immediately was into it. I'm like, I love this game.
Absolutely. Oh my god. And I was in the same deal too. It was like a PlayStation disc that had a bunch of samples and demos, and the first Splinter Cell was definitely one of them. And like I say, it was the annoying second level. I think they goofed up on that part because I was like, yeah, if I have to play every level that's like the second level, I will never play this. But I did, and I can see why some people hated it. Uh, some people would go all out. I mean, there's plenty of ways to hack the system in terms of getting away with killing someone who you're not supposed to kill.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
if the line was really great and brilliant casting on having Michael Ironside,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
from Total Recall and ER and Starship Troopers as the voices.
Scanners.
Yeah, and Scanners and Extreme Prejudice, the Top Gun, the list goes on.
Killing
Everything.
Man.
Oh my god, going that far back would be
Oh
movie
yeah.
territory. Michael Ironside is just saying that name alone is enough to make any movie geek just bust a nut and a gut laughing.
It's a lot.
um,
It's a lot to go through there, man. That's a filmography. That's I don't know. It has its high points and its low points. And sometimes the low points can be high points, depending on what kind of mood you're in or what you done smoked or drank beforehand.
he looks very, very confused if you watch Lake Placid Free during his scene where his car's being tossed around by the giant alligator.
I haven't seen that. I need to watch it.
Oh, I totally recommend those movies. Those movies are my jam.
I think I've seen the first one. I don't think I've seen anything past. I know they were doing like what was it like Lake Placid versus like Mega
Anaconda.
Croc, Anaconda. Okay, it was something.
Anaconda, and I'm not even an Anaconda fan, but I totally recommend the Versus movie. It's just so much camp fun.
No, I'm
They
about to
even,
look into that.
they even get Yancey Butler from Drop Zone and Hard Target as the lead in later
They got
ones.
Witchblade, huh?
Yes, and they get. I know everyone else is just always bad mouthing her. I still kind of find her cute. They even have Robert Englund as a scientist.
Freddy, okay.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. It is total camp, and I never gave him the time of day because I think I saw part of two and this naked couple in the water getting slaughtered, and I was like, yeah, this is horse shit. And I watched the rest of it, and it is just silly, R-rated, campy fun. They get like so much cheesy gore, it's hard not to look away. Oh, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, that's right. Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside. Sequest DSV. Yeah, he did a banged up job doing the voiceover. He was no stranger doing all the other DC Comics voiceovers, and I think even played Batman in one particular episode. And yeah, he just totally owned, even though he clearly wasn't the physique. He just bought his voice. It added so many layers, and the cinematics for these games were very nice. I liked a lot of the dictators.
They did him the same way they did David Hayter too with the last Splinter Cell game.
Yes, they did. They eventually Ironside was upcharging too much, and they're just like, let's go with the guy who did the motion capture in the last game for you. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally thought he looked almost and hurt and sounded almost as likely like Ironside. So,
I loved Splinter Cell Blacklist when it came out, but nobody else did. It didn't sell that well, and that's why we haven't had a game since then for real.
oh, that's a shame.
I know,
Yes.
right?
So there was. I played the original Pandora Tomorrow. Can never play Chaos Theory. That was the first M-rated one. Essentials was like for Nintendo DS, and then Double Agent. That is still to date my favorite, because that's where it took a dark turn. You could become a villain or a bad guy or an anti-hero. So many endless possible endings to where sometimes eventually it was impossible to proceed. I ended up letting the supervisor who oversees you, Lambert, live, but apparently in canon he still has passed away as a result of the torturous scenarios.
I did. Which version did you play? Because the Xbox 360 and the original Xbox versions are actually different games.
I played the PlayStation 2 version, and I wanted to get a
No.
360 so I could play the other one, but it never commenced because I didn't have any money.
If that's your favorite one, you should definitely check out the PS3 360 version because it's a whole different game and it's I don't know which one I like more, but I like both equally.
I meant to get that as well as the trilogy remastered that they did a few
Yeah, I
years
got
back.
that on the PS3. Yeah.
I will definitely do it. I just set up the PS3 upstairs here when I was relocating stuff. So I mean, I will take you up on that suggestion. Conviction was the first time where they went to PC level. Uh, I don't mean politically correctness. Actually on like a Windows, PC.
Hmm.
uh, a lot of people noted how it was pretty similar to other stuff like Born Identity and 24, the TV show, just with all the secret Blackwater type companies that he's having to frame. And I saw the trailer alone. I'm like, fucking awesome. Now he's out in the open. He doesn't have his goggles. He has a shotgun. I'm like, that's
Yeah, they
great.
definitely made it more actiony in that one.
Yeah, it's like this was post Taken fugitive type. It's like, it's great. It's great.
Hmm.
Um, there was even someone who used to do a few fan made trailers making it look like Daniel Craig or Justin playing him. But yeah, Blacklist was very cool and captivating, especially where the part that spoke volumes for me, where you have to disarm a nerve gas atomic bomb that's
Hmm.
at the DFW Dallas airport. I'm like, holy fucking shit! And some people were being stooges. They're like, oh, it doesn't look like that. I'm like, you're missing the point. The scenario,
Yeah, it's a
that's
video
creepy.
game, man. Like,
I mean,
just
Dallas is
worrying too
always
much.
changing. Eventually, they're gonna have to change how it looks, but I mean, it is a parallel universe, so it's just
Hmm.
suck it up.
Pretty much, people worry about the dumb shit sometimes.
Oh, it's just might be a killjoy. I mean, if I'm
Hmm.
gonna hate a movie, I'm gonna at least explain it to you as opposed to be a generic. It sucked.
Yeah, that's what me and PJ try to do on the show all the times. We have a habit of liking movies that people would normally hate.
Well, and you do a good job. Like you also just have the humor open up the endless discussion, and it's like, okay, it's impossible, and you don't have to go to Rotten Tomatoes for an opinion. You do know you cannot be brainwashed, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
And so I will let you recast. Actually, I just cast a Splinter Cell movie. Who will play Sam Fisher, the beloved anti-hero?
The only bad thing about it is I really love your boy Michael Ironside to play, but I know he's probably too old to be running around and sneaking around and everything.
Maybe we could sneak him in as like the mentor. He'll be Sam's dad or something in
He
some.
could be Lambert or something.
Oh, that would be awesome. They'd change it up. I mean, unless they want to get Dennis Haysbert, who did a banged up job in part
Oh,
two.
that was his voice, wasn't it? I never thought about
Yeah, he even there's even a featurette. You can even find this on YouTube of him and Ironside talking about the voiceovers. It's like, so yeah, there you go. Get Haysbert, maybe get Ironside as some other CIA operative. There's plenty of other bald guys, so
that.
I'm sure.
You know what they could do? They could have him be. They could have Haver be Lambert, and they can make it like a sequel to the video games. And have your boy play Sam Fisher, and maybe he's training a new guy or something. Like it's
That
a new Splinter Cell.
that would make way more sense than what Ubisoft's trying to do. It seemed like they had a bunch of games slated to be movies, and then Assassin's Creed movie came out, and haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, nobody liked that one. I thought it was alright. It was okay.
It had good cinematography. Couldn't
Hmm.
I couldn't make any sense of anything going on, and I barely played any of the games. So I mean,
And my girlfriend loves those games, so I would be looking at her like, "Did that happen? Did that happen? Who's that? Is that what happened?"
it was like, I don't know.
It's pretty much she just shrugged her shoulders every time, like, "I don't fucking know."
I don't even know what's going on. And apparently they had Tom Hardy attached, and when I heard that, I was like, "Fuck no, Bane's not Splinter Cell."
He's not sneaking around. He's gonna just run up and just murk everybody. Ain't no
Oh,
sneaking in that movie.
I'm Max. I'm screwed up. I for the longest time was thinking Kiefer or even Matt Damon. Was like, no, too old now. And I definitely would still like to bet money on someone like Thomas Jane or Viggo Mortensen, maybe Eric
Mm.
Bana, but they're also getting up there. So it's
I think
oh,
Sam Fisher in the games was supposed to be kind of older though too.
he was, and someone even did a movie trailer long ago making it look like George Clooney. It's like that would
Mm.
be cool back in the day because the Peacemaker was pretty close to that. So nowadays, I think the easiest compromise you're going to get is going to probably be Frank Grillo, Crossbones from Captain America.
He ain't sneaking around either though. He gonna just snap next.
Well, that's just it too. We are going to have to end up compromising. We'll see like 5 seconds of sneaking around, and the rest is going to be, yes, like you say, an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
That's true. Oh, you know it would be cool, but it would be kind of weird, and they probably wouldn't do it. But I can't think of his name right now. But the guy that actually plays Jack Ryan right now on the TV show, get him to be the new Splinter Cell too.
They probably might, produced by Michael Bay, John Krasinski as Sam
That's
Fisher.
his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally buy that. I mean,
Because he would have to sneak around. Because I don't think he can go around and just like how Frank Grillo would just like slam dudes around and everything. He'd have to have some little finesse to him.
Maybe Frank Grillo could just be the bad guy because you know
There
how
you go.
they have a bunch of burned out guys. Years ago, I made a fan list, I think, on IMDb, and there was I thought one of the guys, I think his name was Goins or Gines. Let me look it up. A double agent. There was a pretty freaky bald dude, and then there was a bunch of other guys. And I was like, instead of just adapting it, they just need to come up with a guy who's basically a combination of like the first four games, have some kind
Hmm.
of. Oh, it'd be even funnier if they took the everyone's favorite fictional South American country from the '80s, Valverde, and had it
Yes, I was trying to think of the name.
had to be set there and stand in for Cuba so no one gets offended. See, we didn't say it was Pakistan. We said it was Kazakhstan, you know, shit like that. And uh, they could totally have there be some IRA type guys on there who are, you know, trying to make an extra buck selling nuclear
Hmm.
weapons. But I always thought, what's his name? The late, great Michael Massey, also known as the dude who shoots Brandon Lee for real in The Crow and
Oh.
who who kidnaps Jack Bauer's family on the first season of 24. He was a he's also in the Amazing Spider-Man as the stranger at the very end.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I just a go-to underrated bad guy actor. Instead, they're getting people like Billy Drago and other guys. But I always thought he was underloved, and next thing you know, I hear he dies of a heart attack at age 60 something. I'm like, what a shame. He'd be perfect for this video game
Hmm.
adaptation because he just kind of had a similar voice and tone of just unpredictability. You're afraid of what he's going to do, even though he doesn't even do anything. He just stands there and says, "You betrayed us." So, yeah, you have Haysbert back. It'd be a cool nod to fans of the game.
Hmm.
I mean, even though the character looks more like Charles S. Dutton, I mean, I'm sorry, I just infinitely just
No,
has
he
it
kind of
does
do. Now that you said that.
he does, and they might even get him since he's always busy. But I mean, Haysbert is my total guy crush, just with Major League, the unit, 24, and all that. He just would be perfect for this. I mean, and after seeing him in those Jarhead and Sniper movies, I mean, he
Oh
can do no
shit.
wrong. He can do no wrong. Years ago, it did seem like Tom Berenger would have been perfect for this kind of role as Sam Fisher, but yeah,
Oh, the substitute.
well, that and the Sniper movies, and
I've never seen any of the sniper movies, but I love the substitute though.
oh well, then you'll definitely like the Sniper movies. He's in almost all of them,
Oh,
and
okay. I'm gonna have to look into them then.
they're as close as you're gonna probably get to a Sam Fisher Mission Impossible without Tom Cruise.
Get Tom Cruise to be Sam Fisher in the movie.
I mean, yeah, and Sam Fisher, you definitely see an influence in other spy movies like Wesley Snipes in The Art of War, a bunch of the other just off the radar NSA type stuff,
Hmm.
and uh, and yet it was able to kind of feel like its own deal without seeming derivative. Like you're able to compare it without saying, "Oh, but they ripped off that and that." It's like, no, it's pretty much the best of all spy fiction books and movies. I mean, there's
Hmm.
plenty of just like the recent season of Jack Ryan. There was plenty of stuff that felt like it was taken out of clear and present danger, both the book and movie, and Patriot games, and
I
then
just
they,
rewatched both of those too.
yeah, good stuff. And then
I love
they,
those movies.
yeah, and then they, so there was definitely a few stadium levels and bomb disarming that definitely makes you think of either version of the Sum of All Fears.
I need to see that one. That one I haven't seen.
I resaw it recently. Other than the bad R&B music in the middle and the credits that literally have nothing at all to do with me, I'm like, why did they put that in there? Other than
I saw that soundtrack, man.
I guess so. Ooh, sexual
There's a video game of
magic.
that.
Yeah, and it's
Oh, okay, I haven't played it before.
I played it on the GameCube and I was like, this is a video game. This is like a demo that you don't release. I'm
See,
sorry.
again, you're selling me on it.
Okay. Well, if you want hemorrhoids, yeah, by all means, do it.
So I'll just buy that and some preparation H, then I'll be good.
The best part about that is I paid barely a buck for that.
Oh, that's cool, then, yeah.
It's probably a collector's item now, just because it's an infamously bad game.
I'm about to look it up right now.
Oh God, no.
See how much it costs. If it's
What am
50
I?
Cent, I'm gonna buy it right here live on the podcast.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Only if it's 50 Cent. So I got my GameCube and PS2 both hooked up right
Oh,
behind me.
hey, now that would be interesting. 50 Cent as Splinter Cell.
Oh shit! Yeah, you know what? Yep, do it.
Do it. For real though, I wouldn't mind actually seeing him as like, you know how there's often a teammate, at least in the multiplayer. It'd be cool to have him as one of the guys who
Like a
goes,
double agent. Yeah.
yeah, fuck shit up.
Oh.
Better yet, yeah, he could even say, "I'm out." Going back to the Pentagon to retrain for some other CIA reassignment. This mission sucks. It blows.
Some of All Fears is on GameCube for $3.75.
God, that's too much even for that.
If it was 50 cents, it's not 50 cents. I'm not buying it.
It literally just goes angle to angle. There's barely even a mission. Jeez.
White knuckle action based on the hit movie. There you go.
White knuckle action. What in the hell? There's not even any punching.
11 missions, huh?
That's like me saying there's a boxing game without any boxing.
Boxing game, but it's all the fucking like strategy RPG.
Yeah, have it be some kind of shoot 'em up and advertising like delivers on the boxing action. What? There's not even MMA in this.
Fight Night Round 5, and it's the first person shooter.
Yeah, there you go, and then mix it over with Def Jam
Fight for
fighting.
New York.
Yeah, there you go, and have Snoop Dogg and Chris Judge from Stargate guest star as the fighters. Man, we should do an episode where we just fuck around with other game crossovers. So yeah, I definitely see the influence in Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell on other games like Siphon Filter. That was always kind of the bastard child, but I know there was a big fan base for that. Some people
And
would
they
even
made a bunch of those too.
they would even note how the guy even looked like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, kind of, and
Mm-hmm.
had a similar voice like Snake and similar night vision goggles like Splinter Cell. So it it seemed like it was just a mashup. It was for the uh, Vin Diesel and Triple X PlayStation 2 crowd. Just
I hate Triple X.
oh, you should totally see Part 3. Just because
I'm actually curious about it for real. I can't lie.
it kind of shits on itself while waving its middle finger all around, and then Ice Cube appears at the very end. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that. Okay, that's
Oh, so they did put him in there. Okay.
that's rather big of your ego, Vin, Mr. Wooden Tree Diesel, and and that they have a bunch of other Hong Kong and Bollywood stars in it. It's just like batshit crazy.
That's what I heard somebody said it's crazy, so I'm kind of interested, even though I hate that first one.
Yeah, I hate the first one as well, and part two was just always kind of a guilty pleasure. And I'm like, just turn the brain off. It's PlayStation in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
William Dafoe in Speed 2 mode.
There's a movie we need to cover right there.
Oh yes, please do. That's like my favorite infamous movie. That it could have been a good movie, but just the trivia alone is just fascinating. And it's still pretty watchable. It's just a lot of other dog shit in it, and yet you can watch it endlessly on loop if you want, just for all the crashes and Caribbean music. uh, so, if there was would you see a Metal Gear Solid versus Splinter Cell video game crossover?
Oh hell yeah, day one.
All right. They did a lot. I've read some of the novels of Splinter Cell. Yes,
Me
they
too.
did some books. Wasn't all that impressed by them. Didn't hate them.
I read like the first two, I think.
Yeah, it was two different authors using the Persuade 'em, David Michaels, whatever the hell. You might as well have had it been Alan Smithy, but
It was a period there. I don't know if they still do it as much. But they were making like novels based off a bunch of video games I like. Like I had the Halo books and I had some Resident Evil books.
Halo books were pretty cool.
There was a Metal Gear Solid novelization too. Now I think made by the same who the fuck? I think S.D. Perry. I think was the name.
Is that right?
Pretty sure it was the same person that did the Resident Evil books. I think. I know
Holy
I had a
shit.
Metal Gear book too.
Wow. Man. So, as of 2015, Doug Liman, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Edge of Tomorrow, and Born Identity fame, had left the director's chair after disagreements. He had Joseph Kahn as his replacement, whoever the fuck that is.
That name
And
sounds familiar for some reason.
I just clicked on him. Oh, yes, he's a music video guy. He's this Korean American who did music videos for the likes of Destiny's Child, Christina Aguilera, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Jonas Brothers.
Oh, that's probably why. Okay.
Yeah, Kylie Minogue, Lady Gaga. I'm not liking this list anymore that I read it. Right. So, and then they hired actor Frank John
Oh,
Hughes.
that's why I know that name. He directed Torque.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
did that on the podcast. I
You
forgot
did.
about that.
You did a great job explaining to me why.
That movie's trash.
The only good thing about it is that it gave porn star Delta Bone some stunt work. That's the only good
There you go.
thing. Because Delta Bone has the most amazing name ever. Delta Bone. Hell, he should play Splinter Cell. Just take a chance on life. I'm changing this, persuade him.
It's the porno parody.
Oh yeah, there you go. Have him do the porn. It was like, I got a bone to sniff at or some shit. I don't know.
Splinter Cell Triple X ready for infiltration.
Yes, I'm penetrating the safe. Yes, you just heard me say that. Have him disarm the bomb with his boner. I don't know. So, either way, they hired actor Frank John Hughes, who I didn't even know did script writing. He's best known for Band of Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. Ubisoft hired him to do a rewrite on the film's script by April 2015. In January of 2017, one of the other producers confirmed that the script had been completed and sent for Tom Hardy to read over. The producer explained that the movie is intended to have its own style within the action movie genre, and that the production team is aiming to make an edgy PG-13 rated movie. So it's dead. Let's just say that it's dead.
Oh yeah. It's
It was with Thunder Road, which hasn't done much of anything lately. And don't get me wrong, I'll see it open today. I think it would work very much like either version of the Hitman movies, just be a movie that every critic hates, but action movie fans are less, cynical about.
Don't care as much.
Something. I mean, they could probably get the writer of Agent 47 and November Man to probably even script. He also did American Assassin, if that helps. So,
oh, there you go.
Which is very Splinter Cell-ish.
Now I typed in Metal Gear Solid movie, and there's actually a bunch of, it's like under Columbia Pictures right now, I see.
I think so, yeah. It was reported that Warner Brothers and Paramount were the front runners bidding to make it. Then Ubisoft announced in 2013 it was new Regency, but it's got Basil Iwanyak, who seems to change every other studio. So, yeah, if it's Sony, then God bless them. I hope they do a good job with it.
The director is Jordan Vault Roberts.
Because, I mean, every other franchise seems to be taken away from them or be getting killed, so or being taken over. Like they lost Triple X to Paramount of all people, so I mean they gotta they need to rake in the dough now that Spider-Man's dead. So let's just have them make 6 different Splinter Cell movies a year. It can't be worse than making a bunch of Resident Evil movies a year. So.
Yeah, but they finally stopped with those. I thought they were just gonna keep making them forever.
Apparently, they're retooling it. So
well, shit.
Oh, I couldn't make sense about it. The Resident Evil games or movies, I would always kind of just have them on in the background, and be like, "This is Resident Evil."
Well, I tell you, see, if Resident Evil fans would be like super mad if you said that, because they're like, "That shit is not Resident Evil."
Oh, absolutely. They would even beat the piss out of me just for saying, "Oh, you're not crazy about the games?" Fuck yeah.
I can't talk. I've been playing the games. Like I've been leading up to the re-release or the remake of the third one. I've been playing all of them. I'm on Resident Evil 4 right now.
Oh wow.
I love those games.
Oh.
That's another series I love right up there with like a Splinter Cell, Metal Gear, Resident Evil, Mortal Kombat. Those are like some of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, well, there you go. Mortal Kombat. It's gonna be interesting what this new movie's looking like. I'm sure they're gonna get Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage cameo.
It could. I just saw that I don't know. I don't know the release date, but they're releasing a Mortal Kombat animated movie straight to DVD sometime soon.
Really?
Yeah, there's a trailer for that right now. It just came out yesterday.
Yeah, it can't be any worse than any version of Street Fighter.
I love the Van Damme one.
I must confess, it's kind of a fun Die Hard Commando movie. I mean, it's by the same creator of both of those, so I mean, a lot of people hate it because it's not all. I'm like, as a standalone Commando movie, you can do worse, but I can also see. I kind of want to check out the Rift Tracks version. I want to check out a few other.
Oh yeah.
I think they just released a Blu-ray copy, so.
Yep.
Special features, so yeah.
I need to get that.
It'd be interesting if they even tried a Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter movie, just to see if, because that would make bank either way.
Oh yeah, they've been talking about doing stuff like that forever now. The closest we got was Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
That or Alien versus Predator.
There you go.
Dead. It just seems like everybody's afraid to cross over franchises. It's like, why? You make money, and
they usually get review bombed. I think the critics usually hate every time they do it.
They hate every video game movie. I mean, the only one they liked was Rampage, which I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had fun with in a Godzilla kind of way. And
the Rock movie, that's right.
The Rock even went to Twitter and said, "I'm in one of the worst video game movies of all time," referring to Doom, and then I'm in one of the best reviewed video game movies of all time. I was like, damn.
Progress.
Progress, yeah. Doom is another one. I always hate the opening, and then I like the last part because it's just batshit insanity.
Oh yeah, I love Doom, especially the part where they had like the little first-person shooter part.
Yeah. It's. I still need to see part 2, which everyone is trashing. I'm like, it looks kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it's definitely coming up on the podcast. I'm gonna get a hold of that. I think it's on Netflix even right now.
Is it? Oh,
somebody told me that, I think.
Now we know. So, Brent, where can we find you on the interwebs in addition to your awesome Home Video Hustle podcast?
All right, it's catchphrase time. All right. You can find us on all the social media outlets. But you can find us most definitely on Twitter because that's where I'm most active. And you can find us at capital H, capital V, capital H, capital P, lowercase I-cast. That's HVH Podcast on Twitter. And I shortened it now because on Twitter in the bio, I actually made a link tree. So if you want to get to all the other links, because we got YouTube page where we post videos every Wednesday. If you want to know what movie we're going to talk about on Friday, watch the video on Wednesday. Because if you don't know, we pick movies at random, usually out of a bag, or we go to Patreon. We've been doing that all January.
You have been doing Patreon, yeah.
Yeah, we try to do at least one of those once a month.
I listen on Podbean, so I'm always waiting for the surprise at the end of the tunnel.
Oh yeah, see, I'm gonna get to Podbean right after this too, because we said we got YouTube on there, Patreon on there, the Age of Radio Podcast Network is on there, and the Podbean, Apple Podcasts, all those links are there. But if you listen on Podbean, or if you just want to comment on it, I use that to listen to podcasts. So if you comment on the episode, I can respond back to you.
Whoop, whoop.
So if you want to do that, that's there too.
So I will do that.
Yeah, so all of that is there. And I think, like I said, now that I got the link tree, it just shortened all of that up. So there you go. Just click the link tree. All the links are right there.
Link it.
There you
Link
go.
It good.
Like you know you should.
I look forward to seeing what movie you cover next. And feel free to pimp your podcast on here anytime. I mean,
oh yeah.
if there's any promo you want to send me, I'll gladly put it in here.
I'll do it right after this then.
Okay, groovy.
I got one right here.
Alrighty. Until then, keep reviewing video games.
Oh
and
yeah.
Movies, and movies based on them.
That's where we like to go right there.
Yes.
The Jacked Up Review Show can also be followed on Facebook on both the page and the group. Feel free to chat, leave questions, make requests for future episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for your various support, and we'll continue to entertain the hell out of you. Till then, take care.